Assalamu alaikum, this is Brother Khalid here. I've done 3 videos so far. One of them was very popular, but what I found was two things that are very common that I hear about all the time. One is the tattoo that I have on my face, and the other is that I'm just a revert. The tattoo on my face was done before I became a Muslim. I've said this to a lot of people, and I say it again, but once you take your Shahada, all is forgiven. Everything that came before Islam has been wiped away. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. I was lucky enough to have 33 years of just sin taken away from me. Alhamdulillah, for the mercy of Allah. May Allah Azza wa Jal show mercy upon us all. You know, when they started to come out, and I changed the name from Dawah Man to Khalid the Revert. A lot of people have been asking me about my reversion story. I'm of the belief that I don't owe anybody my reversion story, but inshallah, I'll share it with you guys because, Jazakallah khairan for the shares and the support that I've gotten, and of course for all of the dua that, you've blessed me with. And inshallah, may it also be the same for you. Ameen. My reversion story is quite a long one, so I'm planning on putting it into segments. I'm also going to add what it's like to be a revert later on. I don't know how long this series is going to run. I'm going to try and take it as close to the present time as I possibly can. But I left Christianity as a young man. I left Christianity as a young man because I was studying to become a missionary, to go to Sudan and preach to the Muslims there. The reason that I left Christianity was not that I was studying the Quran, but actually that I had read the Bible. I had read the Bible 14 times in 4 years. I was just devouring it. And the more that I read it, the less sense it made to me. Things weren't adding up. I'm not saying anything to the Christian brothers that are listening. If you believe it and you have that spirit in you, my brother, it's not up to me to give you hidayah. You want to know about Islam, hit me up. But I left Christianity because of that, because the book didn't make sense. I did not leave Christianity to become a Muslim. I left Christianity because I don't have the problem with the concepts of Christianity. I have a problem with the book itself, the Bible. When I left Christianity, I then was lucky enough to meet a Jew. And I studied with him the Torah. When I studied the Torah, I then went and studied the Hindu scriptures, the Upanishads, the Vedas. I studied with Pandits. The Bhagavad Gita, I studied with the Swami, the Mahabharata, and the Ramayana. Again, this didn't make sense to me. I moved along. I studied Zen Buddhism. I studied the Black Bible. I studied, a lot of philosophical books. What I found was that all religion had a common thread. So at that point, I just decided I was going to become agnostic and try to be a good person, like a lot of people that struggle with religion do. I was no exception to that. By this time, I had reached maybe 24, 25 years old, 26 maybe. But I had been looking, and at that stage in my life, I was practicing Tantra Yoga and Raja Yoga as sort of an outlet for myself. And what brings me back to this is really funny is later on as I read the Quran, Allah Azza wa Jal, because we have a common thread in all faiths, Allah Azza wa Jal says that He sent, thousands and thousands of prophets to each people at their own time, in their own language. Having read all of these books, and even philosophical books like the Tao, even if you're going into something like Sun Tzu's The Art of War, or Machiavelli's the Prince, you're going to see a lot of its essence of philosophical thought of all the other faiths that I had studied. A lot of its essence is in the Quran, and because I have this knowledge, it makes that one verse really relatable to me. I encourage you to broaden your perspective and learn what other people believe, because it will make this one ayah so powerful. So powerful, and you can really appreciate the Quran that way, But My first run-in with Islam was my best friend growing up was a Muslim. He's now a Christian missionary working with refugees from Syria in Europe. I became a Muslim. I consider myself a novice student of knowledge and a novice da'i, right? So he was, and that was my first come across of Islam. Now, later on in life, while I was still a Christian, there was a guy, Ali, who worked for my dad, and he had a big beard and a topi, and he'd gone to Pakistan for his Jamaat, and I decided that I was going to convert him to Christianity, him in his heathen ways. Astaghfirullah. So I went out and I went ahead and bought the Quran, and I tried to read it, but it was so confusing, you know. Allah Azza wa Jal, when we have, when we plot against him, because I was plotting to pull one of his slaves, he confused me, because the Quran is not an easy book to read. Like, you go to the Bible and you go to everything else, everything is sort of in chronological order, and because you can't find one place and learn everything about Musa alayhi salam, you have to go everywhere. Any prophet, Yunus, Yusuf alayhi salam, Isa alayhi salam, it's not together in one area. The Quran is much more of a complex book than any other religious text that I've ever read. So I decided it was crazy. If this guy wanted to be a terrorist, astaghfirullah, he could remain a terrorist. It's no skin off my nose. He left my father's business and went elsewhere. I never thought about it again. But from my friend that was the Muslim, I wrapped the Quran up in a green cloth and I put it in a box. Later when I did get my hidayah, I remembered that I had this Quran and I looked for this box, and there it was, still in the same condition I'd put it in. But what I didn't realize was everywhere that I had moved, I had taken this box. I had absolutely taken this Quran with me, and I had no idea it was always around. And alhamdulillah. I'm going to end my story for now, because I am going to do this in segments. I'm not going to tell you the whole story today. If you do want to hear the rest of this story, please drop a comment below, or like and share if you think other people may be interested in hearing this, inshallah. And if I get enough comments, I'll continue with the rest of this series. If you do want to hear the rest of this reversion story and what it's like to be a revert, especially in my small rock in the South Pacific Ocean, Fiji. I pray that Allah Azza wa Jal makes your test easy. I pray that He blesses you with good family and obedient children. I pray that He gives you the best in the akhirah and the best in the dunya. And I pray that you live a long and prosperous life. Assalamu alaikum.